annoyed! Walk around stomping that big ass
hammer.
I'm getting tired of it.
How would you like to play the most busted build in Diablo 4? A build that destroys Elias at level 56 with ease, absolutely speedruns all the way to level 100, blasting mobs 60 levels higher, and can start farming tier 100 at level 90? And even better, a build that requires absolutely 0 uniques and is immortal? Yeah, I wanted that as well. So I made this build. I call it the Mega Tank Charger. Ground-hating, shit-smelling barbarian build. So how the heck does it work then? First off, all damage comes from using Charge and Hammer of the Ancients. With enough cooldown reduction and the right talents charge is free to use at will, allowing us to charge everywhere, which is goddamn based. And our hammer is not only a way to piss off our vault neighbors, it also does insane amounts of damage when we start stacking overpower. The overpower is then unleashed using Aspect of Earthstriker. This season, we also got ourselves a weird-looking sex toy. It grants us vulnerability as well as extra damage and survivability, which is damn nice, making us even stronger than before. Alright friends, let's take a look at the stats and gear making this build possible. The main stats that we are looking for in this build is defensives and overpower. Always make sure to get capped out on resistances. Since we are fighting mobs way higher level than us, we will be needing around 8,000 armor if we have a high roll disobedience aspect. For the gear, we firstly have a helmet. Not only good for keeping your ears warm, it also grants us some nice stats. The stats that we are looking for are the ones I have on my helmet, with one exception. We want max fury instead of lightning resistance, so that we can make use of the furious hammer of the Ancient's talent. As aspect, we use the Iron Blood aspect, granting us 20% damage reduction. As chest, this one is pretty damn perfect if we ignore the awful rolls. You can also replace the damage reduction from distant enemies for damage reduction from bleeding enemies. The aspect we want here is Aspect of Disobedience. For gloves, you want these with one exception. You need crit chance. So get it, damn it. When you have these stats, grab an Edgemaster's aspect and imprint it. Now, ideally, you don't want to grab a resistance stat on your pants. Instead, you would like to grab damage reduction from close enemies or damage reduction while fortified. But if you can't get max rolled resistances on your boots, then I'll allow it. Also take Aspect of Might, as it's damn strong. Since most other stats are dogshit, we stack our resistances on our boots. Other than that, we obviously want movement speed as well. As aspect, I'm using the Windstriker aspect. With some decent rolls in this aspect, you will easily get to the movement speed cap. Now let's take a look at the weapons. The most wanted stats here are Overpower, Strength, Damage to close enemies, and Vulnerable damage. Core skill damage and damage to bleeding enemies are also great, but core skill doesn't work with our charge, and damage to bleeding enemies has lower rolls. So they can suck it. On my big bonker, I'm using Aspect of Berserk Ripping. This is great for elites and bosses, as it has high rolls. It also allows us to get bleeding on all enemies easily, which works great with other passives. For one-handers, I prefer to use maces, as they have overpower. You're also going to want Aspect of Ancestral Charge and Aspect of Ancestral Force here. And for the last weapon, I'm using a sword for the increased bleeding damage together with Earthstriker's aspect. Because of this, two-handed axe will be the way to go for your weapon expertise. Alright, on to the jewelry. An optimal amulet would have ranks of all brawling skill, movement speed, cooldown reduction, and damage reduction while fortified. For more damage, ranks of the brute force passive is also strong. As aspect, we want the accelerating aspect for that yummy attack speed. On the rings, I'm looking for crit chance, overpower damage, max life, and then it depends. After testing a ton, If you get a ring with high roll on resource generation together with aspect of the Relentless Arms Master, then you will be able to ditch one of the resource aspects. If you don't give a shit, however, then just grab Max Fury instead of resource generation. Other than the Relentless Arms Master, we will be using aspect of Unrelenting Fury if we need the resource generation. If not, then Brawler's aspect is pretty neat. Great job, friends. We are now done with the gear and aspects. Next, we have my high IQ skill tree on the agenda. As basic skill, we take Lunging Strike together with Enhanced and Combat Lunging Strike. This passive is important to keep berserking up at all times. In the core skill tree, we take the Big Hammer. We also want Enhanced and Furious Hammer. This is also a reason to grab Max Fury on your gear, as it grants us multiplicative damage. We obviously don't take any defensive skills because we are no beta cuck soy boys, am I right? Yeah, nah, we actually need some. Take Challenging Shout along with Enhanced and Tactical Challenging Shout to easily stay alive. Imposing Presence and Martial Vigor will also help with that. In the Brawling skill tree, we have some damn nice talents. We obviously want Swiftness to become fast as fuck, boy. Take all points in charge. We then take Enhanced and Power Charge. This talent is what allows us to keep resetting it. We need to hit 3 enemies to reset the cooldown, but luckily, our friends from Ancestral Charge will help us with that. After that, we take Leap for 2 reasons. It will help us keep berserking up, and it's cool as heck. Take Aggressive Resistance and Battle Fervor so that we can keep berserking up easily. And lastly, we want Prolific Fury for the Fury generation. We ignore the Weapon Master skills completely. Our cuck friend grants us a lot of Fortify, and we're going to trust him. If you feel that yours is being an idiot, then Thick Skin can be used. We then head on over to the ultimate skills and take all of these for some Fury, damage, and healing. After that, we want Wrath of the Berserker for the huge damage bonus. Then we pick up Heavy-Handed and Brute Force. These grant us a ton of damage, but if you need more defensives, then you can drop these 6 talents for DR. And lastly, the key passive, Walking Arsenal. How we make use of this passive is what we'll look at now. But first, subscribe, ya legend. I know you want to. Alright then, let's get good friends. Other than keyboard bashing your head as hard as possible, there are some important mechanics to look out for. Firstly, I'm using Charge as well as Leap as slashing weapon, and then Lunging Strike as dual wild weapons for the Walking Arsenal passive. Before you engage, you always want to make sure you get full fury by lunging on some weak enemies. You then want to activate Walking Arsenal, which you do by using either Leap or Charge and then Hammer of the Ancients. You then need to keep this up by spamming all of your buttons. I usually do 1 Lunging Strike followed by a Hammer of the Ancients, allowing me to keep maximum fury up and deal as much damage as possible. As cooldowns, you can use Wrath of the Berserker whenever you are fighting large packs of elites or if you are crowd-controlled. Challenging Shout should also be saved for tough elites or large packs of mobs. Well damn son, you're now an expert at this build. But before I leave you to start farming tier 100s, I need to show you my Paragon board as well as my robot talents. In the starting board, we will be using the Exploit Glyph. This grants us vulnerability before our little robot friend catches up and does it for us. We then head on over to the Decimator board and socket the Territorial Glyph for a whopping 15% damage reduction and ton of damage. In the Carnage board, we take the Legendary node and then socket the Mortal Draw Glyph. After that, we go to the Weapons Master, ignoring the Legendary node and picking up the Undaunted Glyph for some damage along with damage reduction. After that, we go all the way over to the Bonebreaker board. Here, we will be using the Crusher Glyph for that sick, overpowered damage. And lastly, Go to the hemorrhage board and pick up the legendary glyph there for more bleeding damage. Great job, friends. Only the robot left then. We start by grabbing Tempest simply to proc the other talents. We then grab Fortify, as this will be our only source to get it with this build. We then want Bleeding for the huge bleeding damage bonus, and finish with Breaking Support to get ourselves Vulnerability. The other construct stone we want is Flash of Adrenaline, by far the best one until this idiot robot can do some actual damage. We support it with Tactical Support for less cooldown, Safeguard for damage reduction, and Duration for longer duration. This allows us to get near permanent uptime on the construct stone. Alright friends, that's all for this guide. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.